All right, let's get set up here.
Should I check?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Welcome anybody who's listening or watching. Gonna get these shared out on social real quick.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see, last one.
You share a live stream
On Facebook?
Yeah.
Yep. It's just like a regular post.
feel everyone's judgment already. Lack of understanding.
Yeah, I think they're used to it though.
Used to me being deliberate.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Once Kaylee gets shared here, we're going to record our podcast live. How do we go live on Twitter? By hitting the live button in StreamYard. That's how. What do you
Diana.
Kaylee, is really weird.
Like it sounds weird.
Does it sound clear though? Hey, Chelsea. Breaking up and low volume. Okay. Well,
I can move closer.
let me fix that real quick.
Carefully. Is this better now?
Yeah, we had to adjust the microphone situation, so bear with us. Hannah, does that sound better? Talk again.
Can you talk?
Okay, you have to talk louder.
I'm talking like my normal voice. Keep on talking. This is going to be a full 3 minutes of me being super awkward. Nope, still bad.
Okay, 1 second.
Is it just because it's live? Hello. I am not good at this. I don't know what we need to talk.
Should have been.
Nice. Now we have an upside down microphone. Is this any better? It sounds fine on your computer.
Oh, because it changed.
I checked that.
Whenever it unplugged. Okay, now it's gonna be super freaking loud because I changed the settings.
I checked that.
Okay, now talk.
Okay, we think we fixed it. Hopefully. So it was just picking up on my computer.
Yeah.
Okay. Glad we could get that taken care of.
All right, we are better. Sorry about that. We unplugged his mic before starting, and then StreamYard decided to switch audio sources on us without telling. So
I'm glad we're doing it live, though. We would have recorded an entire podcast and no one would have heard me.
So, for the 15 of you actually watching across all platforms, thanks for joining us. We're going to start recording our podcast here soon. But if you have questions about anything we talk about, feel free to leave them in the comments and we will answer. Well, I just went through a whole spiel before hitting unmute on my mic. So we are about to start recording the podcast. Yeah. Okay. Rough start. But we're going to record the podcast. If you have questions throughout, feel free to leave them in the comments. We'll answer them live while we're recording. So that's okay. Yeah, we're going to be talking about new office, business, what's been happening with us. So, Haley, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome back to another episode of the Digital Wrap Up. My name is Riley, and I'm the host, and I'm the CEO of Hardin Digital and Design. We're coming to you live from the new studio, and Kaylee is joining me. I say studio, but it's technically our office too. But we're going to be talking about the new office, one, and then just some other stuff that's happening with the business, downsizing the office, how we've kind of shifted some strategies for our content creation lately, and just a general update about life at Hardin Digital and Design. So first of all, Kaylee, thanks for joining me.
Thanks. It's really awkward because you're behind me.
Yeah. So
Like I'm not looking at you anymore.
Here, great podcasting, but you could see my hand behind Kaylee's camera there. But yeah, this is the new office.
Now it's echoey.
We're
doing so well.
Yeah, I talk loud. That's okay. So for those of you listening to the podcast or watching on YouTube, we actually are recording this live. We're streaming it live while we're recording the podcast. So we might stop and interject and answer some questions from the comments throughout the podcast, but just trying a new way to engage with the audience, and we'll see where this goes. So if we just randomly stop and answer a question, it's not us getting sidetracked, which we tend to do that anyways, but this is something we're going to give a try. So first thoughts on the new office.
Is that a question?
Yes.
Oh, I love it. It is infinitely less depressing.
Yes, I would agree. As you can see behind us, if you are watching on YouTube, which please go subscribe to our channel on YouTube. It's youtube.com/@HardinDigital. And you can see a little bit of the office and the limited camera views that we have here. So, yeah, the old office was very dark and felt like a dungeon. The back part of our office did not have any windows in it. So we were really just working in the dark, not necessarily in the dark, but the lighting, there was no natural light back there. So first of all, the window is a huge upgrade for us. And we're also actually have a nice view of the courthouse right here on the square in Tipton. So that's pretty sweet. Yeah, I would say that's my biggest plus so far is the window.
I also like that there are people. There are other people in these business suites or professional suites, I think it's called.
Tipton Professional Suites.
Tipton Professional Suites. So we have neighbors and people just popping in and out saying hi. is exciting for me. Like at least if you're not here, there will be other human interaction for the whole day. So I've already seen a bunch of people I know. They did a ribbon cutting the other day um, for Chelsea and Dan. So
Yeah.
then a whole bunch of people up here. There were kids in here when she was doing a photo shoot the other day. It's been at least exciting for me. I don't know if you need all those people, but I like having people.
No, I think it's nice to have some human interaction throughout the day, because we got hardly any foot traffic at the other place.
Yeah.
Our goal or our hope, with having the office when we first opened the office was so that we could get some foot traffic, but just the location, nobody was really walking there. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways for me too is the amount of traffic that goes. We're on the main intersection in downtown Tipton now, and it's not like our old office was out in the middle of nowhere. We
No,
were
it was
literally
one
just right
block
off the
over.
square, but we never saw anybody. Like no car, like hardly any cars, no foot traffic, but this is completely different. So it's an adjustment.
It's very noisy for
Yeah.
sure.
The street noise is loud, but that's okay. So besides the window, what else do you like?
What else do I like? I don't know. I just feel like it fits us better. I know that's like a silly thing to say, but it's very open. Everybody can just walk right in here, and now I have to face them. Before I was facing backwards. So anytime people came in, they scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Now I'm the first person they see.
Not technically. They see me before because
Okay, well,
yeah. I
I'm
have a
sitting
direct
closer
shot.
to the door.
Yeah. No, it is nice. The old office, people had to come in the common area, then walk down a hallway, then walk into the big entry area, and then didn't see anybody. So it's like, is anybody even here? And then we would have to walk up from the back, or they'd have to walk to the back. And it just wasn't a great setup for when we did have people come in. So this is much more friendly and happier environment
Yeah.
for greeting guests, I think.
And people would just all of a sudden be standing behind me before and just be like, hi.
Yeah.
Like I didn't hear them come in. I didn't
Yeah.
hear anything.
Keegan did that a couple of times
Keegan
to you.
thinks it's funny. I'm sure did it on purpose. He probably snuck in.
Yeah. Yeah. Other updates about the office, it's newer. It's recently remodeled, so it's floors are brand new, paint's brand new.
I wish I could show you guys the trim and the doors. I love the doors. It's such a stupid thing to say, but they remind me of Veronica Mars, and everybody keeps making fun of me for saying that. But it's like the frosted looking glass on the doors, and the doors are painted black, so it looks very like mysterious and like you can't see through it. So what's behind the door?
Yeah, it is. It's an old bank, right? So imagine like 1950s bankers and that textured glass that it's frosty and imagine old bankers sitting in here smoking and it gives off those vibes. Like they kept that kind of historical feel to it, but it's updated.
Yeah, and the ceilings are tall. It's just very, even though it's smaller, it feels more open.
Hmm. Yeah, so that's the next big piece about the new office is we technically downsized. Um, our old office had a huge open entryway and big seating area. We thought it was a great idea when we moved in there, but we used it maybe 2 times in a year and a half. Um, most of our meetings were at the conference table, which was in a kind of separated area, and we never really just sat out there in the big open area. So it was really wasted space. It was a good thought, and I think if we had more foot traffic, like a quote unquote regular company. Like it was a good waiting area if
Yeah.
people were waiting on appointments or things like that. But that wasn't what we do. So kind of underutilized space there. But we were able to move all of our furniture except for one desk that we don't use to the new office. So like it was a downsize, but it was kind of just getting rid of the wasted space.
Right. And we gained a desk. So really we have the same amount.
Yeah, technically we have the same amount. And we didn't lose any of our seating area chairs. It's just a little tighter fit in there, and that's perfectly fine. So, anything else? I think well, the one thing we haven't talked about is we're saving a lot of money by moving here too, right? The I think the appeal of having the window, getting rid of the extra space and all of that is nice, but when it comes down to running a business, we're saving $300 a month by
Yeah,
moving here.
combined. Yeah.
So it's like,
It was a no-brainer. Like
yeah,
I couldn't think of any reason why we shouldn't do it.
I could.
Well, the stairs.
The stairs.
The stairs. Please, people, come and visit us, and then you will understand.
And look at the desk that we're sitting at and realize how big or how hard it was to get these desks up here. So that's the one downfall. But they're up here. We don't have to worry about it anymore. So
Yeah, we can just never leave. We're going to be in this office until the end of time.
yep.
Because I'm not carrying all this stuff downstairs.
Yeah. So I mean, all of that stuff combined, it was just like this is the easiest decision. We don't pay for utilities. We don't have to split. I guess that's technically a utility, but we were paying electric and gas at the other office. Now that's all combined with the rent. The base rent itself is cheaper. So when we add all of that up, it comes out to on average about $300 a month that we're saving, which is a lot.
And
So
I just kind of like the setup of having all these other like-minded business owners up here.
yeah, like Chelsea and Dan, we love being your neighbors too. But they're, we consider ourselves creatives, right? Kaylee's graphic designer. I do creative stuff on social media and websites, and they're photographers, and I think there's an event coordinator up here too. And so it's just having like-minded people in the same areas is nice.
Yeah.
I think.
It's motivating to me that like all these people are trying to do the same thing we are.
Yeah.
To make it in Tipton. Like Tipton is still small. We talk about it all the time, but like people are trying to do things, and it's nice to see other people that are like pushing and trying to make it happen just the same as us. And not everybody needs a whole building. Like we don't need a whole office building for the two of us. So this is perfect.
I thought we did at first.
Yeah, like if we had 10 employees, that would be fantastic. We could have our own building, but
Yeah.
right now that's not where we're at. So this is a good setup.
Yeah. So Kaylee and I sit a little closer now, but
We don't
all right.
have individual little cubicles.
Yeah.
We're more newsroom style here, just wide open. I can't see what he's doing, but he can see every single thing I'm doing.
Yep.
It's not really a problem. I don't
Yeah.
think.
No, I think it works well, and the only like potential downfall was when I'm on virtual meetings, but so far it's been fine. I mean, you could hear me on my virtual meetings anyways at the old office.
We had
so.
little half walls before. It wasn't like it was totally separate. It just felt a little bit more separated.
Yep. I guess the one big change that, I mean, for those watching is obviously the podcast studio. That's, I guess, the one area that we really lost out on. We used to have a dedicated podcast studio. It was tiny, but it was its own separate closed off room, had a nice setup in there. That's the one, I guess, big thing we lost.
Mhm.
It's not the end of the world, right? There's several people who just sit at their desk like we are now and do their podcast, and it presented some challenges. We had to test some different setups today before recording this, but we worked it all out, and I think this will definitely be an okay setup moving forward.
I
So
look less awkward at this setup. I don't know if that makes a difference to anyone else besides me, but however I was sitting before, maybe it's just because I'm in my rolly chair or I can lean on my desk or whatever, but I always felt like I was so uncomfortable in the other ones because I didn't know what to do with my arms.
yeah, I always had a computer in front of me and things like that where you were just kind of sitting there awkwardly.
Yeah, which I'm great at. So
Yeah.
this just I look and I can see myself. Maybe that's why I never had my computer, so I couldn't see myself. Or maybe I would have adjusted and not looked so stupid before. I don't know.
Yeah. So we spent money on the podcast setup when we first moved into it, but overall, I don't think it's a huge loss necessarily.
No,
So
we're still using most of the stuff, just not the
we
same.
don't have the dedicated room for it.
Yeah.
But overall, we're here to talk about business and how to make smart business decisions. And aside from the fact that, we like the space better and it's better for our mental health because we can actually get some natural light in here and not just sit in a dungeon all day. I think we realize that this is actually more than just, hey, we like this newer, fancier office. This is a really good business move because, again, we're saving that $300 a month. We're kind of cutting down on wasted, underutilized space. And yeah, I think this is a good time to do that because we're kind of shifting to some different strategies and everything else that we're doing too. So it's kind of like, hey, this lines up perfectly with the other stuff that we're doing, which we'll get into here in a couple of minutes.
And we never seem to plan these things out. Like it just kind of falls in our lap. And then we're like, okay, I guess we're moving offices. Like,
yeah, we talk about making smart business decisions. The smart thing to do would be to plan and forecast this out, but we didn't know these offices were opening up.
right.
You know, Dan, who's Chelsea's husband, who's leaving comments here on Facebook. He's the one that told me about them and showed me, hey, there's a couple suites open, and brought me up here. And within a week, we were like, okay, let's do it. And now we're here less than a month later.
Yeah.
Well, probably exactly a month because we had to give 30 days notice. But yeah, it just, I forgot where I was going.
It just happened to work out this way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it would be great if we could be like, okay, we need to find the new spot because we're not using our space effectively and we're being charged too much for what we're really using it for. Like on and on. It would have been a great business decision if we had planned that out, but we didn't. So,
But happy accidents.
yeah.
That's kind of how we got the first office to begin with.
Yeah, I think the bigger part of that is just being adaptable as business owners and kind of seeing the opportunities in front of you and just running with it.
Right.
Yeah, the first office we didn't really plan for at all. We had just joined forces and Kaylee joined the team, became part owner, and then like a week later, this office opportunity came up in downtown Tipton, and we are like, well, did we go for it? And looking back, like we had the money to pay the security deposit, first month's rent. Was it the smartest move? No, but I think it worked out, right? Our goal was to establish a presence in Tipton, and I don't think we could have done that without getting that office.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah. I mean, like, it was, it sucked. We had just paid the lawyer to create the S corporation, accountant, whatever, and like we just went through all this transition of starting a new bank account and transferring money and doing all this stuff, and like then, oh, pay 2 months rent up front out of nowhere. Like, yeah, we were kind of tight on money when we started out, but I don't know where we'd be at if we were still just both working from home.
I would probably not be doing very well.
Yeah, like
Once again, I need some human contact.
Yeah.
So,
and in just terms of the amount of business we've gotten too, I don't think we would have.
no, because people wouldn't have even known who we were.
Yeah, there's. Oh, yeah,
I mean, people still probably don't know who we are. But
yeah, but like, yeah, we have our presence set up on Google and we have a Google business profile. So if people search marketing agencies and tipped in, we pop up. But like, are people actually doing that? Not so much. But the personal interactions and the connections and relationships we've made since opening our office have been very beneficial.
and maybe we'll get some new neighbors up here who need help marketing themselves. That's a potential opportunity there that we didn't have before.
Yeah, I think that's why us being here is a unique situation, because every other tenant that moves in here is a potential client for us.
Yeah.
If we look at it that way, which like I'm not going to be over pushing, be like, first day they move in, hey,
you need to hire us.
You need a new website. Let us run your Facebook page. We're not going to be, we're terrible salespeople in general. But two, we're also nice people and not going to just be over pushy and say, you need to work with us or we're not going to be friends with you. But if
like you're right next door, but we can't speak because you didn't hire us.
Yeah, but if we realize, okay, this new company moved in and they don't have a website or they need help getting their social media started, like, we're here as a resource for them, and that's a very big benefit for us moving forward. So, any other thoughts about the office? Fun things, strategic things?
I'm probably going to get in shape. That's not
that.
strategic. That's also a happy accident because we have 8,000 stairs.
Yeah, 3 to 4 trips a day up the stairs. It's good for you.
It's gonna kill me. Shout out to Jake Jude for carrying this furniture up the stairs.
And Riley.
Yeah, and Joel.
And Joel, yes.
That was my probably only stipulation about moving here was that I could not carry these desks up the stairs.
Yeah, it was rough, but we're here.
You guys are in shape and we're struggling. I would definitely not be okay.
Yeah. So, speaking of smart business decisions, hire movers.
If you're over 30.
Yes. If you have at least a couple $100 minimum that you're willing to part ways with, it is worth it. Especially when stairs are involved. I mean, we should have known. I mean, I kind of knew, but when we moved these desks into the old office, it was a pain. And that was just moving it from a trailer inside 2 doors with no stairs. And, I debated. I know a local moving company that engages with our content on social media, and it's like, oh, that'd be nice to give them a, reach out to them, see what they can do. I don't know why I didn't. I just figured, oh, we'll be fine. And I overpromised, but it worked out. So,
I mean, we're here.
Yeah.
Nobody injured themselves majorly.
Good. Business doesn't have to pay for Joel's chiropractor bill.
Yes.
Hopefully.
No, we're past that now.
Good. So, the one thing, I mean, this is getting like nitpicky and doesn't really have to do with the overall performance or overall thoughts of the office, but we had just settled into the old office space, like literally 2 months before we moved. I hung stuff on the walls in my office and finally made it like an office and felt homey. And I enjoyed sitting there all day versus just looking at blank walls. And then 2 months later, we move, and we're kind of back in the same situation because these walls are not great for hanging stuff on, as we found out this weekend. So, kind of lose
We're
out on
working
that.
on it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we have our big hanging or our big paintings on the wall, which is nice, but yeah, I lost my shelves and my clock.
And I'm sure you looked at that clock so often, considering you have it on your computer and your wrist.
Well, yeah, I did kind of until daylight savings time changed, and then it was wrong, and I didn't take it off and move it, so that's all right. Anyways, moving on. Any last thoughts about The Office?
No, I think people should come see it though.
Yeah.
What's the address of this place?
102 North Main Street in downtown Tipton, right above the Market on Main.
Come
Yeah.
see us. We're here all the time.
Come hang out. Well, not necessarily hang out, just come say hi. Suite 207, so second door on the left whenever you get up the stairs. But yeah, overall, office is great. Great business decision, great decision for our general well-being, and can't wait to make more connections with potential new tenants that move in whenever. I mean, they're looking to fill this place up. So if you are a business owner or looking an entrepreneur or whatever, trying to get a new, even if you don't need it every single day, there's several different sized offices or suites left. So let us know and we can get you in contact there.
Yeah, come be our neighbors.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Anyways, moving on, talking about smart business decisions, we've kind of been changing a lot of what we do content wise in the past couple of months. We've really started to hone in on what's worth our time creating and what is not worth our time creating, and even evaluated the podcast in terms of is it beneficial for us to continue doing. And we're still here podcasting, so I guess that answers that for now, at least, right?
Yes, our whole solid 15 dedicated listeners. We appreciate you.
Yeah. But we're trying to focus on things and activities and projects that actually make us money, right? Why were we writing a blog about something that nobody's actually reading, right? Especially Kaylee or Hannah trying to write a blog when they're not natural writers, right? That's taking up a ton of their time. And we got a couple of clicks through on Facebook one time, and then that was it, right? So what was the purpose of that? Nobody's searching for that blog on Google or anything where we're like getting tons of views from Google search or anything like that. So it was kind of a realization of we're doing a lot of things that aren't really benefiting the business at all because we thought it would be helpful because other people do different blogs and different things like that. Didn't really work out, so trying to trim the fat, as they say, in terms of what we're putting out there and what we're focusing on. So instead of, I guess I'm just going to talk about the blog first. Instead of writing these random blogs about, like, the one that pops into my mind is the Nonprofits That We Love blog, where we talked about Family Promise and Good Samaritan Network, which we do love working with them, and they both have special place in our business and in our personal lives. But what does that really benefit about? We did a podcast on it. Great. I think the podcast is a little more open to having those type of conversations. But for the blog purpose, what do we benefit from that? And I can't tell you.
Right. And that's why we weren't consistent with it, was because it wasn't actually gaining us anything. So then we could push it off.
Yeah. So I have a tendency of a couple of tendencies of focusing on new things, trying to come up with new things instead of working on things that we already have been doing. And I know that's a downfall. But I think part of it that played into that is the fact that some of the stuff we were doing that I was spending a lot of time on wasn't actually benefiting the business, myself, whatever it may be. So then I would put that off because I knew why spend a couple hours writing a blog and doing all this, posting it, and publishing it, posting it on social media. Why spend time doing that if it's not going to do anything for us? And then I would start looking at other projects or other things that, okay, maybe this will take off. And so I've done that a lot. Um, like our Shopify website and then our Etsy store, which is still technically up. We have like 3 sales on it. But we've talked about this in the past, but I ran with that idea and went all in for about a month and then hasn't been beneficial. So I've kind of let that fall off. Well, the same thing was happening with the blog is I'd write a blog, wouldn't really see any traffic to it. So then I would be discouraged to not want to write a blog again for a while and then go on from there. And honestly, the same thing happened with the podcast for a little bit too. Not just recently, but over the life of this podcast, which started in 2022, maybe. The end of 2022 is, we have I've gone stretches of, 3 or 4 weeks without recording and publishing a podcast because sometimes it's like, is it really beneficial for the amount of views and downloads that we're getting?
Right. And I think that might be a better way to go about it, though, than just recording for the sake of recording. So it's like there's a positive and a negative to it of we need to be thinking of things that people actually care about and that it's going to benefit the business, but also we don't need to record it if we're just doing it to say, okay, we did our weekly podcast.
Yeah. That is true. Like, I think that's kind of what we've come to the realization of is being more purposeful with our every piece of content that we put out. I talked to Kaylee about, okay, what are our conversations going to be on the podcast? We can talk about, the fun part of the new office and all of that, but that's not what the entire podcast should be about because people aren't going to necessarily be searching for that or enjoy that, right? We're here to talk about small businesses and marketing and things like that. So trying to have a more clear focus on the topic of the podcast and relating it to stuff that people who know us would actually be wanting to listen to or it would be a benefit to them.
And a lot of it, at least for this episode particularly, like I think I would like to know sometimes when other people are like, I didn't know if that was a good decision for my business or not. Like I would like to know that people besides us sometimes are like, wow, that is expensive. Or
What do you mean?
just it would be if I was a listener starting a business, this episode would be good no matter what we were talking about. Because maybe these people are starting their first office and they may have run into the same questions we did. So
yeah, that's true.
it may not be like something people are searching for, but for the people who do want to listen to it, I don't know.
Thanks.
I don't want to be on a podcast every week. I need to just shut up.
And Kaylee just volunteered. No, but I think taking this new approach will help, hopefully, be more beneficial and worth our time. And, if it is something that we are more pointed and more focused on a specific topic, whether it's the blog or for the podcast, and put a more focused effort. I just said focus twice, but put a better effort into the content that we're putting out that hopefully it's actually stuff that gets views and gets clicks and provides some positive reinforcement that this is worth it to keep doing, right? Because if not, again, then what's the point of doing it?
Right.
Would we be better off spending this now 45 minutes that we've been live on Facebook and YouTube and everything? Would it be more beneficial for us to be working on stuff for our clients? Maybe. Like, right. So then that's what you kind of have to weigh and decide on. So it's all this stuff is like constantly just circling in my mind.
Yeah.
Think about all this stuff and
But we also have had conversations that not everything you do can go viral every single time.
mhm.
So we get discouraged sometimes if we're putting in all this effort to post however many times a week on social media to do these things that we think are interesting and funny and informative. And then when it doesn't get any views or listens or likes, then we're discouraged. But not everything can do that.
Yeah.
Some of it is just our loyal family and friends listening to our podcast, and
Yeah.
it
So
is what it is.
so circling back to the blog though, we started making a more pointed effort to writing content that would be searchable, right? The
Mhm.
whole SEO that people throw around. Well, I started really digging into that and writing content that people were searching, and it seemed to work out really well. Like we got thousands of page views on our website. Our Amazon affiliate links were blowing up, making $10 to $20 a day in commissions, which like on the grand scheme of thing, no, that's not a ton. But for us, when we were making $0 off of our blog, now all of a sudden we're making $10 to $20 because I'm putting more effort into the content that we write. Yeah, like making a couple $100 a month from Amazon affiliates through our blog
It is amazing.
is amazing.
Yeah.
Like my goal was to make enough from our blog to pay rent for the new office every month. And up until last week, I thought that was attainable. And then Google has kind of hurt us. But I don't want to.
That's a tangent.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
a
want to complain about
whole new
that
thing.
because we're new to the blog space. So it's not like our business is tanking because of everything happening with Google. Because, like I said, we're only making $10 to $20 a day, where some people are literally their entire businesses ran off of a blog and they're losing traffic like crazy. But I don't know. Hopefully that we can rebound the blog. It's hard to say rebound because it's still so like new, but recover and get back to where we were a couple weeks ago, making $10 to $20 a day off Amazon commissions and things like that. So,
But it's also one of those things that if for whatever reason we do reevaluate it and this whole Google mess is going to be a problem, maybe the blog
it's not worth it
is
anymore.
not worth it anymore.
Yep.
So that's where we're at with every single part of our business right now is like, if we actually look at it by the time spent, how much of what we do is worth it or not.
Yeah.
Even the projects that we commit to, I got myself stressed out having 97 things to do, which is great, and I'm managing it. But I only have so many hours in the day. I mean, that's a whole tangent too.
Yeah. But like we're literally at the stage of, like she said, evaluating everything, even to our core services that we provide, right?
Mhm.
Like I mentioned earlier, we're terrible salespeople, and we've known that from day one. And I've tried, um, you know, sending cold emails and doing all this prospecting and all of this, and it's yielded zero results. So that, and then like I was sending X amount of prospecting emails a day, and then nothing was happening, and so naturally I stopped doing that because I was discouraged and
And
mad.
it was a lot of time
It
spent.
was a lot of time spent. So now we're shifting, and I mean, this is kind of, I guess, an exclusive drop or preview But we're shifting or looking at, okay, is the coaching model something that would be beneficial for us in an easier quote unquote sale, right? Where I just get on meetings and coach small businesses, entrepreneurs to either get their social media started or answer questions on weekly calls and things like that. So, like, we're literally looking at every piece of our business and
Yeah. Things that we've offered from the beginning, like maybe that's not the direction we need to continue.
yeah. And even so, that was the social media side of things. And graphic design, we've always kind of struggled to get those long term clients and projects anyways because it's a different beast in itself, right? The people that need the long-term stuff usually have somebody in-house. So
Yeah.
I think the graphic design side of our business is one that probably won't really change a whole lot of processes for us. Like, we're not necessarily going to be doing a whole lot. We'll still have the one-off projects, which are great, but we're not going to necessarily change a whole lot to that. In terms of websites, though, um, I'm extremely busy. I was the one doing most of the website builds and updates and projects and things like that. And I've come to the realization that I don't have that much time
Yeah.
doing everything else, right? So we've shifted, and Kaylee is kind of taking the lead on website projects now, where I'm still involved in the early stages, the early meetings, talking about
The
where everything's
technical
hosted,
information. Yeah.
domain names, purchasing all that stuff, and making sure it's set up or transferring over to a new hosting platform, whatever it may be. But then Kaylee's doing the bulk of the actual designing and updating and things like that for clients now because I was falling behind, right?
You have a lot going on,
Yeah, and
which is great.
yeah,
You have all these new clients, which is fantastic.
but if I'm letting websites fall behind, way behind, then that's not good for those clients. And so I have to be like, okay, I need to shift priorities. And it's one of my downfalls and things that I don't do good at. I think I can manage everything when I can't, but starting to realize that. And so the websites is just one example of us, again, kind of optimizing what we're doing here at the business. So,
And I've always been able to do them.
yeah.
That was just your thing, and now it's gonna be my thing. Like, I don't have anything against it. It's a lot of it that I didn't know you're still involved in, so
Mhm.
I like doing them.
Yeah, I mean, Kaylee helped with our website. She did her own website when she was still on her own. She's done several other websites on her own before we joined forces, and then she helped in the redesign of our website. Did we redesign?
We didn't
What was my I
we
don't even
started from
remember.
scratch.
I know, I'm trying to think. Did I have a website when it was
You had
just
a
Hard and
website,
Digital?
yeah.
But then we just completely gutted it
We
and
just
started from
started
scratch.
over, yeah. New template, start from scratch.
I can't even remember what my old website looked like. That's kind of depressing. I kind of want to know.
Aw,
But
so
oh
sad.
well, yeah.
You're
But
like,
like
"I've
so
completely forgotten that phase of my life."
yeah. But like Kaylee has the expertise and ability to do all that stuff. It was just um the way we structured how we were going to do our business or how we were going to provide the services. We set it up where I was going to do websites.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, the website structure of how the timelines of them work is very similar to my design projects. They're usually like one-off big projects, and then you move on. So it's the same setup. Like, you have a lot of monthly recurring things.
Mm-hmm.
Websites kind of fits into my schedule better of if I've got this free time to do a whole project and I can knock out a website real quick, then great.
Yeah. A lot of your stuff is the 4 to 6 weeks turnaround and time frame for your magazines that you design. And And so, like, that's again kind of looking at, like I said, we struggled with the long term graphic design clients, right? We've picked up a few magazines through the network that Kaylee designs for, but we haven't like signed on with a company to be their graphic designer on a contract basis, like what we do with social media. We haven't been able to find that. So Kaylee has not necessarily like an abundance of free time, obviously, but there are gaps in her schedule where she has the ability to pick up these projects. And that's a huge benefit for us if she can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't always have an abundance of free time. I have like 80,000 things at once and then nothing for a little bit.
Mhm.
If we could somehow make all those things not happen at the same time, that would make my life much easier. But
Yeah.
that's a big,
Websites,
big wish.
websites are hard to plan for, right? Because we're on our client's schedule in terms of they're reaching out when it's convenient for them.
Yeah.
Your magazines are different. You kind of can plan those out for the most part, unless
Yeah.
they spring random ones on you. But
And the websites, I think, kind of come in waves.
mhm.
Like we always seem to get a whole bunch all at the same time, and
Yeah.
then we won't have any for months. I don't. It's, it's out in the universe somewhere that somebody's like, "Hey, everyone should redo their website right now."
Yeah, I think it goes back to the being bad salespeople. If we were better salespeople and had a sales process that worked, we would probably see more consistency in that. But I'm not a salesperson. So, and I mean, I've tried everything and
And I'm
taken
worse than you.
classes, and we use HubSpot and track all of these things and send automated emails and whatever. Like I've tried it all, and at the end of the day, I'm either just not dedicated enough, or I know cold emails don't work very well, but I am not the type of person that I want to cold call people. So it's just like,
I don't even like calling people I know,
yeah.
let
So
alone strangers to bother them. I would be like, "I'm so sorry. Don't mean to take up your time."
so yeah, cold calling is not my thing, which I know probably extremely limits our success in the sales world. But hey, we've survived. Have we thrived? At times, but at other times it's a struggle, and we're trying to just make everything go better. So,
Yeah. And we're still in the beginning.
yeah,
Technically, as a
technically,
combined whole company.
yeah, it's been less than 2 years.
Yeah. Most people, at least that I've ever heard, it's like you gotta give yourself 5 years before you make it big or
Yeah, it's a
do that.
interesting dynamic because there's all the stats about like most small businesses die within 5 years, but at the same time, the ones that are successful usually take 2 to 5 years as well.
To get to the point where they're
Yeah, so it's like
no longer struggling.
the next 3 years are gonna be either,
A
really good or
disaster.
really bad. But, I
We'll
mean,
keep you posted.
n no, we're obviously planning for good, and that's, I think, why taking all this time to think about this stuff now and at this time versus just kind of continuing to do like, yes, last year was the best year in the history of Hard and Digital from when I started and when we combined forces, but not saying that like we can just stop there, right?
Right.
If we just stopped at that where we were at last year with the way prices increase and things like that, we probably won't be around in 5 years, right? So still trying to find new ways to innovate and improve and make things better.
Yeah.
Hopefully that sets us up for the next 3.5 years to be very successful.
Yeah. And the fact that we're even having meetings monthly to evaluate this stuff and quarterly meetings and actually sticking to that and saying, "These were our goals for this quarter. Did we actually succeed?"
Mhm.
And then kinda light a fire under our butts to be like, "Okay, we didn't do that very well."
Yeah, so that's one thing starting in 2024 that was my priority, you know, more of the strategic side of the business of forecasting and setting goals and tracking all of this stuff. Whereas, 2022 and 2023 was kind of just all over the place. Not necessarily all over the place, but we didn't have weekly meetings. We didn't have quarterly meetings. We didn't have monthly meetings. Like we didn't really,
We didn't really look back at anything.
yeah. And we planned a little, but we didn't like strategically plan. So now we look at, we have a weekly meeting that talks about, okay, backtrack. Our process now is, I'll start from the big and go small. We have a quarterly meeting that we lay out our goals for the quarter, our projections for the quarter in terms of what new projects are we trying to do or finish up? What's our revenue goal? What's our individual goals for the different services we provide, right? So we lay out the next 3 months of what we're looking at so that everything that we do should be reflecting back to that quarterly goal. And then we have a monthly meeting that we break down the content that we're going to produce for the entire upcoming month. So the last week of the month, we have a meeting to plan the next month, and we talk about each week at a time. Okay, we have an overall monthly theme, and then each week has a different specific topic that fits into that theme. And we write all of this down a month at a time. And then each Monday morning, we have a meeting that breaks down, this is what we're talking about. This is what we're doing this week. Who's doing what, who's recording the podcast, who's posting this on social media. So we break it down quarterly overall look, month by month, and then week by week. And we were never doing that in the past.
Right. And I think to me, it never really crossed my mind because it was just us two and Hannah.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm sure larger companies with more employees probably do that regularly, but it was just us. And like, we would talk about things as they came up, but it was never consistent.
Yeah. And I think it worked, right? It obviously worked. Like I said, last year was biggest year yet, but in terms of really scaling and growing to be where we want to be as business owners in terms of the lifestyle we want to live or what we want to do, we have to look at it from a bigger business standpoint than just we were both freelancing on our own and now we're together and yay, we have a little bit of structure and we can say we're together, but there's no benefit to that.
But we want to be able to retire one day. Like, it's not just a little side hustle for fun anymore. Like, if we want to be serious, we have to be consistent with all of those things.
Yep. So that was my big implementation for this year. And we've been through a full quarter of that kind of strategic cycle now. And I think it worked in terms of we were more consistent than ever with the content that we put out. We were more consistent about strategically thinking about everything we're doing. We look back, like we never looked back at quarterly revenue goals and did we hit those goals before? And we just finished our quarterly meeting last week or something. So it's like we're 1 quarter in and we're still going fine. Now it's just keeping up with that every single quarter and then every year and so on from there.
And not letting ourselves slack on what's the word? I can't think of the word.
Yeah. So it's just again trying to optimize the business and make it more efficient with the goal of obviously we're a business, we want to make money. So yeah.
As does everyone.
Indeed. So all of that kind of wraps back into making smart business decisions, right? Whether optimizing the content that we're putting out or really focusing on strategic goals and what we're planning on doing and evaluating what services are working, what services aren't, what should we abandon, what should we maybe pick up and focus on. We're always consistently thinking about that now, and we have a couple things in the works that we're trying to plan and figure out if it's worth doing, and while keeping what works now, but also adding in the new things that will hopefully work in the future. So, and circling back to the office, new office kind of plays into all of that. Kind of a new lease on the business and kind of a fresh start in terms of, I mean, like we weren't in a bad place. Like, it wasn't necessarily like we were going under if we didn't move offices or anything like that. But just kind of a nice little refresh here for us.
Yeah,
So,
not that we need to be doing this every 2 years or anything.
no, the
Maybe
only,
next time we can refresh just mentally.
yeah, I guess like when we were looking at our yearly goals, one of them was to hire on a new full-time account manager. So if that happens, they better be okay with working remote because we don't have room for another person here. We can make it work, but
They can share my desk. It's gigantic.
we can make it
It'll be
work.
fine.
Yeah, for now, this works much better. And honestly, I think somebody, if we did get to that point to hire a new account manager who's doing a lot of social media content creation, I just like the industry in general, I feel like that person would be okay with working remote,
Yeah.
especially if they're traveling around central Indiana to create content for clients anyways. They're not going to be here a whole lot. So, yeah. All right. Well, any final thoughts about the office, about business, life? You have a new dog.
I do have a new dog. That's completely not what this podcast is about, but I do have a new dog.
Yeah.
He's ginormous. He cannot come to the office.
Yeah, I was just talking to Pince, my dog, about that.
We
Now we
could
can't-
have the dogs at the old office because it was on the first floor.
And there's nobody else.
I don't think my dogs do stairs.
Our dogs would, but it's not the right setting for it anymore. So,
And they'd be noisy.
yeah.
The floors are very click clacky.
Yeah. Very true. So, any other thoughts before we wrap up? Any questions? Like I said, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. Any other questions from people tuning in before we wrap up? Let us know. Yeah, I think we like this setup. The podcast has been nice. Got to go back and listen to it. Had a comment about it being a little echoey, so hopefully it wasn't too bad. Or else
Hopefully we didn't do this whole thing and then you can't hear us.
Podcast. But let us know if you have any other questions. We'll give it another 30 seconds here before we hop off. But
if you want to be on the podcast,
yeah, if you are,
I'd be happy to take a
local
week off.
and you want to be on the podcast, let us know. Be happy to have you. Ideally, if you're like a business owner or relevant, not just
You can't just come talk about your dogs.
Yeah.
Only we can do that.
I wish we could, but
We could do a dog podcast. I bet people would listen to it.
yeah. But while we're waiting for any last questions or comments, please go subscribe to the YouTube. It's actually kind of going well right now with all of our YouTube shorts that we're posting. So youtube.com/@HardandDigital. We're, the blog was going great for a while, and I thought that was kind of where we were going to focus moving forward. But with everything with Google kind of shifting and seeing if we can ride the YouTube train here and get that going. And so far, some of our shorts have been doing well. So
if you want Riley to do an entire podcast about how frustrated he is with Google, let us know.
I mean, I might do it anyways, but
I guess it would be good because people don't even know. So
yeah, there's a lot of
he's a little heated
mystery around what's happening with Google. Why are people's page views tanking? Why are search results not showing up, and it's just a mess. But I found out why, so now I'm mad about it. But seeing no other questions, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up. So thank you for tuning in. Please like and subscribe, whatever device or app that you listen to, whether Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, or if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe and support the podcast. We really appreciate it. And if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email, riley@hardendigital.com, and we will get back to you. So I think that'll do it for this week's podcast. Thanks everybody for listening, and we will see you next week. All right. Podcast is done.
Is it still live? It says live.
Yeah.
Oh.
Podcast is done, but we're still technically live.
Oh, hi, Hannah.
Just missed all the good stuff.
I told them to check and see how awkward I was, so.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we've had a consistent over 20 viewers this entire
20
time
viewers
across all the different platforms.
You
Yeah.
guys are so dedicated.
So thank you everybody for tuning in. If you thought this was nice, like, I thought I accidentally clicked out. If you enjoyed watching, let us know. It's literally no different for us live streaming the podcast versus recording it. It's just one extra click of the button. So if you found it beneficial, leave a comment and let us know, and maybe we'll make this the regular thing where we live stream it and record it. Kaylee's so excited about that. So, all right, that'll do it for us. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we will see you next time.